0.8 seconds. Charles Barkley. Johnson around his man. Drives and scores. Over Mark Jackson. Stoudemire scores. Jackson. What a defensive effort that time. Crowder looking for the alley. Kevin Durant breaking out the elite score with a long one, looking long rebound. Finds Booker. This is
Good morning. Welcome to the Suns Planet podcast, where three fans from around the globe try to bring together all of Suns Planet. And this morning, we've got a fourth. We have a very special guest, the godfather of Suns media, Dave King. Dave, how you doing?
Pretty good. I've lived long enough to become the godfather. All the rest of them are gone.
Nice. There you go. You live long enough to watch yourself become the villain, huh?
That's right.
All right. So, of course, I'm your host, Keith, a.k.a. Sundress Dunks. Also with us, we still have Jason Momoa's better-looking neighbor, Jake, at Fallen Founder. How you doing, sir?
For about 2 seconds, I was going to say, wait a minute, Jason Momoa is not Australian. Way to pay attention to the details. Yes, born in Norwalk, Iowa, just south of me, about 5-10 minutes.
Awesome. And, of course, we still have the real MC Hammer. Sir Hammo, how you doing?
I'm doing really good, guys. How are we all going? We feeling good? We getting excited for the season or what?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Can't wait. So for the one or two people out there listening who might not know, Dave, why don't you give us a short introduction of who you are?
All right. Hey, welcome. Thank you for welcoming me to the show. I appreciate that today. I'm Dave King. I live in the Phoenix area. I've been covering the Suns as credentialed media, luckily enough, since 2012. One of my first interviews was in 2012, asking Goran Dragic, who got lured back to the Phoenix Suns by a phone call from the parking garage directly from Robert Sarver to sign him to return to the Phoenix Suns after he'd been traded away just less than 2 years prior. So that the Suns wouldn't sign Raymond Felton instead to be their starting point guard. Those were days, right? They tried to make
dark days.
They tried to make the Raymond Felton and
Raymond.
Michael Beasley lineup, and we ended up with Goran Dragic, and then Beasley just got quietly pushed to the side a year later, and that was a year too late. But yeah, that was my first year covering, and I've been writing for Bright Side of the Sun since the year before that, the biggest Suns blog in the world. And then we've got the podcast that started a few years later. It started with Espo and Tim Tompkins, are really good friends of mine. And then that's morphed and then eventually retired. So now it's for 6 years. So that's my background. I've been around the block a lot. I've seen a lot with the Suns. I've been a fan since the 80s, since Kyle Macy was the starter point guard way back in the 80s for the Suns. So I got to see the whole KJ era and all the eras since.
Wow. So the main focus of this episode is going to be Media Day. You were there, Dave. You've been to Media Days in the past. So tell us kind of your big takeaways. And was it a funeral again this year?
Yeah, that's the great thing about it, man. That was one of my the most fun days I've had in a while. And that those media days are great because the media ourselves, the group of us who cover the team for 6, 8, 7 straight months, every year we see each other. We get we don't get tired of each other, but we definitely get down to it's all business by the end. But after 4 months off, it's like returning to school, right? So it's like everybody's back. So as much fun as it was to listen to the players talk about how great they are and how wonderful the season is going to be, it's fun to just catch up with all the other media guys and gals that are in the business, and it's growing. There were so many people there This was the longest media day I've ever experienced. I actually left before it was over, so I didn't even. It was 2:00, and I had to get back to other life because
Yeah,
I
they had
happened
to
to
cut
have
the
another life.
broadcast off and everything.
Yeah, they cut the live broadcast off. There were so many questions of all these players, and it was like kids in a candy store was my takeaway. This year, these guys are so excited at the prospect of playing with each other. And just all the new players that Matt Ishbia has brought in, the energy that Matt Ishbia, the new owner, has brought into the franchise is really, really incredible to see this momentum. And now they got to prove it on the court. But the team that did you guys realize that the team that got ousted by the Denver Nuggets, there's only 5 players left from that team?
Wow. It's truly amazing. Probably the most turnover in the league.
It feels like it. Yeah.
Well, and
Or a
I remember,
championship contender. Yes.
I remember
Right.
feeling pretty bad that the team that went to the finals and was 2 games short of winning the title, just Booker now
Just
is
Booker.
It's the one.
But I do remember, Dave, and of course, Stat Me Dave. Longtime fans will be familiar with that phrase. But you did kind of, I guess, calm the Suns faithful down a little bit by pointing out it's actually not terribly unheard of to have that much turnover. I mean, maybe a little bit strong on having only one guy from that year still there, but each year to year, you can see a lot of turnovers. And
Yeah,
by
I mean,
year
the
2
average-
or 3, yeah.
The average NBA roster turns over half the roster. That's
Mhm.
every team on average turns over half of it every summer because that's just the way free agency is. And then these days with the stars demanding trades and getting them after they've signed their big, that's the new thing, right? Sign your big money and then ask for the trade after you got the money in your pocket. And it works out well for them because they don't have to take less in free agency to leave a team. Just take the money from your team and then get the trade, and your team ends up doing well. Your old team ends up doing well anyway. So that has even increased the turnover more. But it's funny, up until February of this year, just 6-8 months ago, the Suns still had 8 players from their 2021 finals team in their lineup. 8 players out of 15, and 8 of the 9 or 10 that even played in that finals were still on the team in February. Then Matt Ishbia wired $2 billion into Robert Sarver's account, and since then there's only 5 players left from that last. Sorry, 1 player left from the finals team, and 5 players left from the team that Matt Ishbia had on his roster when he said we're a championship contender as it is today. We don't have to make any changes. Yeah, he's made some changes.
Wow. Well, we are really excited to see all of the new players, especially the 3 new players that just came in the trade. First of all, I think we got to start with the big man, Yusef Nurkic. He was definitely one of the best interviews of Media Day. Dave, what's your impression of Nurkic so far?
So I will tell you guys should know this, or well, if anyone pays any attention to what I say anymore, I was not for this trade. DeAndre Ayton has the highest upside of anybody in that deal. He was the second best player traded in the Damian Lillard deal. No, Drew Holiday was pretty good too,
yeah.
I suppose. Third best player, second best player coming back to Portland, for sure. And he's got a high ceiling if he gets his mind right, as Devin Booker has said twice after DeAndre Ayton has come up short on the effort department and give it department. Booker has said he just has to get his mind right. And I still remember, and I'm wearing the Valley Hoop shirt, and you guys have that in your intro.
We do.
That's the highlight of the Suns playoffs.
We might have created it right before the trade on
30 years.
Yeah, like 3 days before.
But that was 2 years ago, and that was his highlights, and he's been coasting ever since and worried about himself. He had the disease of me, and that was a problem. So, but I was not for the trade because of the talent gap. However, Nurkic, if he can stay on the court, can be a better fit for a team that has all these guys who want to score, and Nurkic can actually take that short pocket. You guys have watched it in the playoffs last 2 years. Booker gets trapped out near the sideline. He needs someone to flash to the middle and then find the open man. Ayton could never do that. And so they tried little guys who couldn't shoot. And so now they've got Nurkic who can do just about anything that way offensively. And then defensively he can rebound. He's a good fit, but he's not as good a player. And you almost never win championships by trading down. That's been my argument. But this one may turn out well if Nurkic stays on the court. He's only played half the games in the last 4 years.
That sounds like he's going to be great
number
on our team. Fit right in.
Yeah, that'll be the question, if he can stay healthy and if he can be the defensive anchor that we all want. I think the fit on offense is great, and that's what a lot of people were talking about at Media Day is Nurkic's passing. The Nuggets have the best big man passer in the league, Jokic. They were a top 5 offense. The Kings with Sabonis, probably the second best big man passer. They were the number 1 offense. You put a guy like that around some shooters, and you'll have a great offense. I think that's really what James Jones and Frank Vogel are looking at with Nurkic. As Dave said, he can be that outlet valve in the half court to get the ball to guys on the short roll and things like that. They also talked about him getting defensive rebounds and pushing the ball up the court. And let's play a short clip of Nurkic talking about what his role will be.
To be part of this group and the teams you guys have is just, as a big, is you can't get better than that. To have 3 people can score 30 a night, and to having my role to help them, facilitate, play defense, set screens, and just do those little things are going to matter. And I think it's really exciting for me.
Yeah, that's another thing. He is a great screen setter. DeAndre Ayton was a pretty good screen setter, but he never liked doing it. Nurkic feels good. He's like, I give those guys one option. He said in training camp this week, I give them one option. They can go under. That's it. I'm never letting them get over on me if I'm trying to set the screen. And that's good for the Suns. They can curl into threes all day long.
Dave, we've had some discussions on this show about how much of it was the Monty system and how much of it was DA's interest in playing, the right way, I guess, as you point out, flashing to the middle when necessary, setting those screens. And I think we've it's definitely probably a little bit of both, but where do you kind of come down on that balance? I mean, is DA less interested in setting screens because Monty doesn't want him to ever consider shooting threes, so he's kind of set a screen then get out of the way? Because we've seen him fumble the pass a few times too, so he didn't always look confident doing it.
Yeah, we don't know what actually happens in practices. We do know that the Suns have been wanting their center to do the short roll to the top of the key on when Booker or Chris Paul were being trapped at midcourt, and especially when one of those was out, and that's or playing poorly like Chris Paul. That DeAndre Ayton was never able to fit that bill. I mean, if you're sticking Josh Okogie in that role in your most important moments and not DeAndre Ayton, it's DeAndre Ayton's fault. Now, is that a product of the system? It's more a product of the players. You're a perimeter-oriented team. You need somebody to be able to spray the ball around from the high post. Nikola Jokic is great at that. Nurkic is not Nikola Jokic. We won't ever confuse him for that, but he's probably the closest to that the Suns have seen anyway. He might get 3 or 4 assists a game, not 6 or 8, but it's good. He does average a lot of assists, and he goes for the defensive rebounds. He crashes the boards. DeAndre Ayton was good at crashing the boards too, so you haven't lost anything there. I do think it's going to be about health. If Nurkic plays the whole season, we're not going to remember DeAndre Ayton. If he misses half the season, we will.
Well, and that's the other question I've been asking is, Bradley Beal, for example, a lot of people say, well, look how many games he's been missing. But are the Bradley Beals and Nurkic's missing games because their teams are tanking at the end of the season? And it's, I'm a little banged up. Just give me an extra week or two. I mean, obviously, Yusef had major surgery, 2.5 years ago? But
compound fracture in his leg, which has hurt his mobility. That's another thing. I'm sorry to interrupt, Jake, but that's another thing we need to point out. Even when he's healthy, he is strictly a drop big who's going to drop into the paint and he's going to give up shots, jumpers. Now, is that what you really want? Sure. I mean, it's better to force a team to take a jumper than a layup. Absolutely. But he is definitely not going to roam the perimeter like we thought at DeAndre Ayton's height. He would be able to roam the perimeter as well as the paint, although Monty had him in drop coverage 90% of the time. To this day, we don't know what that. So when you're saying, Jake, earlier, you said, is it Monty's problem? Was it Monty's problem or DA's problem on offense? I think it was, to me, the more untold story was what was the problem on defense, and making a DeAndre Ayton who can slide, who can use his feet, only play drop coverage. Was that more about Monty's scheme, or was that more about DeAndre Ayton really trying not to overexpose him? I thought he was great in the 2021 playoffs, but that was a long time ago. Yep. So Nurkic, his compound fracture even hurt further his mobility. He's going to get blown by a lot this year, and the Suns are going to have to put a lot of pressure on someone like Kevin Durant for help defense, which could wear down his body. So there's a little recipe for a problem, but then it's just about who has the more points at the end of the game, I guess, is the question.
Well, we'll see if Nurkic can at least be Walmart Jokic on offense this year. But we also acquired two other players in that trade, Nasir Little and Grayson Allen. Dave, what's your impressions of those two guys so far?
Grayson Allen's interesting. He looks like a young Ted Cruz, for one thing. But as far as on the court, he is your classic sniper guy. Like if you ever liked JJ Redick, if you ever liked who's the other dude who was always just a shooter and nothing else?
Luke Kennard used to play with him.
Yeah, you got Luke Kennard,
Chandler
exactly.
Parsons.
Those kind of guys.
Landry Shamet?
Yeah. Oh. So I made the joke that he looks like Dark Landry because he's got a bad rep. Landry was sparkling clean rep, but they're both just shooters who are 6'4". The good thing about Grayson Allen is he's much more proven than Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet's best year was his rookie year. That's not good if that's your resume. So Grayson Allen is a better Landry Shamet. He may have some head-scratching moments, but he was a starter on the Milwaukee Bucks, who many thought would make the finals again. So was he the reason they didn't? Well, that's fine. If you find out he can't hold up defensively, then you put somebody else out there. But he's going to make the ball. He's going to make the shot. And with Landry Shamet, he didn't make the shots. That was his biggest problem.
I feel like
I'm sorry. I didn't answer about Nasir Little real quick. Nasir Little, he's another one who can't stay healthy. He's only played half the games. If he can stay healthy, he can be better than Josh Okogie, better than Keita Bates-Diop. But I feel like all three are going to play their parts. And if he flashes and gets good, that's great because he's only 23 years old and he can grow into the role. But I think probably Okogie and Bates-Diop are going to have bigger roles this year.
So I guess I didn't watch enough Portland basketball because when I heard about Nasir Little coming in the trade and how some people said they were very high on him, I looked up what I could. And does he do anything particularly well? I mean, like Josh Okogie, we don't expect to, light it up from 3-point land. I mean, he's very streaky, obviously, and that would probably be generous to call him that. But we know he brings it on effort and defense. What is Nasir Little's calling card so far?
Yeah, we don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen enough of Portland either. And when we do watch Portland games, he's not in because he's not healthy. So we don't know. But the way he's described by Portland fans who have seen some of him is that he sounds like your ideal small forward in the Suns system like this, a swing forward into the power, where he's got some thickness to him, like a la Josh Okogie. He's a little bit bigger than Josh Okogie. But none of those three can really shoot. Now, so Bates-Diop made about 40% of his threes, but he only took 2 a game last year. That's probably going to be a problem for the Suns. You've got, if he doesn't start taking more and keep making them, then you've got Josh Okogie, who is extremely streaky, but also a real slow release unless he's fixed that. So I'm looking forward to seeing if he's fixed it to a faster release. Nasir Little isn't much of a 3-point shooter. They can make a respectable amount, but they don't want to take them. That's potentially a problem for the Suns because they need that outlet shooter. So we might end up seeing more small ball lineups, and we might see some Utah Watanabe out there because he's long and can shoot. But he's been a little streaky too, and he's only had his best season was 15 minutes a game. So we'll see how it goes. There's a lot of big drop off from the top four, and we're hoping somebody steps up to be really, really good as a fifth guy in that lineup.
Must be a common thing with what's that, Jake?
I was going to say Yuta.
That's right. Did I say? Yeah.
That's gold. Yeah, it must be a common thing with Nasir Little because I didn't know much of his game at all, so I had to do some research into it. But he is quick. He's a decent rebounder for the time that he's on the floor. So I think he will be a good acquisition for us going forward. May not be the greatest health wise, like Dave was saying, but we'll have to just wait and see. But in terms of Grayson Allen, you know, a lot of question marks in the air about why James Jones and Matt Ishby would take a chance on someone who has such a reputation. But you've got to step back and think that KD and Book are not going to let poison onto this team. You know, James Jones, Frank Vogel, they're not going to bring poison in someone that's going to be disreputous or disruptive towards the momentum and the goals. So I think Grayson Allen's going to be a good signing for us. I really do.
Well, let's hear a short clip of Grayson talking about his game and how he's going to change the fans' opinions. And this clip is going to be from PHNX Suns. Make sure you check them out. As the broadcast cut off, we had Emma from PHNX, the maven behind the Mac, step in and upload all the clips of all the players. They've uploaded a lot of training camp clips as well, but definitely check them out. And let's hear Grayson talk about that.
We're different teams now, and every spot I've been, I feel like the fans kind of slowly change their mind and opinion. So I'll just leave that up to people. Like, I don't go out there and play to try to change minds or change opinions, but that seems to be what happens when I go new places. So we'll see. But when people call me a competitor and someone who plays hard, I do live up to that, and I go out every night and compete, and that's what's kept me in this game.
You guys think he can win the fans over?
Quietly, like, cheeky, isn't he? He's quietly confident on his abilities, and if you're that confident enough to just be able to sit back and say, just wait and see. I think that's going to be good.
I love it.
Definitely.
Hey, the part there was an earlier part when Grayson Allen was asked about his reputation, and he did admit it's not unfair. But he has said he's been trying to live it down since he grew up. He was extremely immature. He says this, and he's been trying to live it down. But then there was a recent thing where I guess he fell on somebody and hurt them a year or two ago, and he said that was completely accident. But I totally understand why people think it wasn't, if based on my own reputation. So he's extremely competitive. He'll probably get in some dust ups. Somebody tried to make a comp that, is he Danny Ainge? Like, everyone hated Danny Ainge until he became a Phoenix Sun. And then the worst thing Danny Ainge did was leave his man on a three in a deciding point of the NBA Finals. But that's about as if he can be our Danny Ainge, that would be pretty good, right?
And it's not like we just went out and signed Zaza Pachulia. This fella isn't out there intentionally hurting people. You know, everyone gets a reputation in one way, shape, or form at some stage during their life and career. So we've got to give him the benefit of the doubt until he gets out there and, you know, puts Pat Bev in a headlock or something, which I don't think we'd be too upset about. We just got to give him the benefit of the doubt. That's all.
I think Grayson Allen plays with the passion, that's for sure. I will say he's got a little bit of for anybody that's a fan of the New York Jets, I feel bad for you right now, but he's kind of got that Zach Wilson face that just says, like, my dad's a lawyer. Like you ran into this kid growing up, and that was the first thing he came out of his mouth when you upset him was, my dad's a lawyer. And he just kind of looks like that. But there's one thing he does do, and he can play some scary defense.
And you be scary. Oh, I know you're asking me. Can it be scary? What do you think of this? You like it? You be scary.
Nice.
Definitely the best player drop I've seen. Thank you, Josh Hunt, for helping us create that.
Thank you,
Hunt
Josh.
Star 05 in the
No,
chat.
5.
We love you, man.
That was awesome.
You guys have to watch the episode just to see that drop.
Right. That, and of course, he updated our Shooter McGavin Yuta. Now it's much better version of Yuta actually being Shuta than what I tried to put together on episode 1.
That was great. Yeah. He competes on defense to the point where teammates, laud him for it. But we said that about Landry's teammates lauded him too. But he is still only 6'4", 6'5". So we'll see. He's going to be about shooting. He's going to be about making important shots. And if he makes them, great. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. That's no guaranteed spot in the lineup, because you still got Eric Gordon. We haven't even talked about Eric Gordon yet. He was one of the first players to sign in the offseason. He said, of course, it was an easy call. Getting a chance to play with these 3 stars for the Phoenix Suns. He said it was just an easy call to come over to Phoenix. And I asked him about what is it that I asked him, you've been on some really good teams. He was on Houston's Chris Paul and James Harden's team with Mike D'Antoni that year. They were built just to beat the Warriors, and they almost did if they hadn't missed 27 straight threes. And they still almost won that game. And then you've got and that was because Chris Paul got hurt. Surprise for us, right? Does Chris Paul get hurt in the playoffs? And then, of course, he was on the Clippers, who were supposed to be good, but never could get healthy. So, and he said, I asked him what he can bring to a team, what lessons he's learned. And he basically boiled it down to availability. He tried to hem and haw around it, but he finally came to, if everybody can play, we'll be all right. Because he had that problem with Chris Paul in Houston, and he had that problem with the Clippers. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know when Eric Gordon was on with Tom and Tom, they said, you were supposed to be here about 10 years ago. And he said, yeah, well, it's a much better situation now.
Yeah.
But before we get too far into the rest of the roster, let's do our little halftime segment and step into the Boom Boom Room.
What's the name of that nightclub of yours again?
You talking about the Boom Boom Room?
Yeah, the Boom Boom Room. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Dave, what do you think of the Boom Boom Room there? It look good?
It does. For sure.
If people watch closely, they see a couple of new faces in the Boom Boom Room this week.
The club's getting more popular, letting some people in. Some people with some talent. Not Luka. Luka's mom, but
that's who that was.
Kind of talent.
I really like that Kevin Durant's kind of looking at the Australian guy in the club, being like, is this guy seriously wearing flip-flops in the club? God dang right he is.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So the thing everybody's talking about in the Boom Boom.
Oh, hey, one of my old friends, Rao, who comes in just to troll me in podcasts. Welcome back. I so missed you. You know what? When I quit podcasting, I sat there and I said, how can I reach out to this dude and become friends off air, because he loves me so much. Yes, I wanted Ayton. I'd still want Ayton over Luka, by the way. What?
Hell yes.
You tell me.
Amen.
What has Luka done in the NBA? Lose. That's it. So don't give me your I'm not even going to entertain that yet. Thanks for coming in, buddy. I appreciate you finding me. Wow. Should I check my backyard right now?
You got to be excited, though, that somebody likes to troll you so much that they can come and find you on different podcasts just to show love. That's how you know that you got the popularity still. You really are the. I thought about this earlier. I was trying to find a way to plug it in, but you're like the you know how like longtime NFL coaches have like the coaching tree, and everyone's like, oh, this guy's part of the Belichick team. You really do kind of have like, you've got Bright Side of the Sun. Voida is connected to you. You got you worked with Espo. Espo's at PHNX. You've got obviously I've worked with you, and here we are in Suns Planet now. Zona Hoops is doing was it Locked On Suns? I mean, so you truly are like we're all from the Dave King podcasting tree and Suns journalism.
And I will, just to tout my horn a little bit, I've also helped people. They've done it themselves, but I've been a conduit for helping people become full-time journalists in sports in a day and age where people don't get paid to do the job. Half a dozen people have come out of the Bright Side tree to become full-time, well-paid journalists. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of what we've done, for sure.
Well, and the thing I'm probably most excited about, and tell me if you're still doing this. So Bright Side Night, where you help, I know you help kids a lot of times. And then I think during the pandemic, we sent, frontline medical
first
teams.
responders in the middle of the pandemic.
Can you
but
tell us a little
over
bit about
7 years, absolutely. It dawned on me that we have such a big audience on Bright Side and Solar Panel that we should do something with it. And everybody can spare $10. Everybody can spare $15 that watch, that listen, that read. So I figured, why don't we, and many Suns fans don't live in Phoenix and can't go to a game even if they felt like going to the game. They just can't. Look at you guys. That's why you're called Suns Planet.
Yep.
So why not have somebody go as a proxy? And why not that be a kid who will never get to go to a Suns game otherwise? Over 7 years, we have sent 20,000 kids to Suns games. 20,000. And
Amazing.
You guys have all donated. Our fans have donated. I've donated, but our fans have donated. Our biggest donor, though, was Matt Ishbia himself, and his brother, Justin, last year donated $100,000 to Bright Side Night.
Love it.
That we ran out of the cheap tickets, so we ended up having to use some higher, more expensive available tickets because we had too much donation to get the cheapest tickets that we had blocked off for the year. And we ended up sending almost 8,000 kids last year alone to different Suns games over the spring. So it's real fun. We're going to do it again. We'll launch it. I think we've tagged a late January game. I forget who they're playing, but we'll be launching that sometime in November, December, the push. And I can't wait to start that up again. Rao, are you serious? You always go.
Even a troll pays respects when it's due.
You have to tell me you're Rao, please. I got to know which one you are. I love Bright Side Night. It makes me feel real good. We always get an exclusive interview with a front office person. This year, you know what? I might as well try to get the new president in there, Josh Bartelstein, to be our. I'm going to try to do that because he's negotiated more deals than James Jones has lately. So let's make Bright Side Night a real fun thing. That's for the donors, and then the kids all get to come and see a really great team play basketball. So yeah, thank you for letting me push that, and we'll start advertising it in the next couple of months.
Thank you for everything that you do for the fans and these kids. Was it 20,000 kids have gone to go see Phoenix Suns games because of Bright Side Night?
Yep, absolutely.
That is incredible, awesome. Dave. Thank you so much for that, man. That is just absolutely beautiful. That's a huge humanitarian effort for people that may not be in a position to be able to do that. So that is incredible what you do for the community there, Dave. It's incredible, mate.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you.
It grows the fan base, right? I mean, this is something that, like, I grew up in Western Iowa. And there was no Suns games here. The Suns games I would catch were when they were playing nationally, or I might be able to catch a T-Wolves, but even fans in Minnesota don't watch the Timberwolves really. And so then it was basically only Bulls games on WGN. And so the idea that Dave had and, the people behind Brightside of let's give back to the team, or not to the team, but to the community to try and develop fan bases. And I think, Dave, you've talked about it before on other podcasts of, like, when you're a kid and you get to go see the team, you're much more likely to become a fan. And this is obviously something that we're passionate about, this organization, that otherwise we wouldn't be, up early on a Saturday to talk about them. And what a cool way to be kind of like, hey, let's share this passion with other people. And so, I love donating to Brightside Night.
And some of those kids will grow up and be let in the boom boom room. But
now that's a transition.
What everybody's talking about in the boom boom room this week is media day. And who is the most funny, or what was the most funny moment of media day? Dave, do you have any thoughts on that since you were there?
Oh, shoot. Yes, there was a funny moment, but I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah. So last year, Yusef Nurkic's backup center in Portland was Drew Eubanks. And Drew signed with the Suns on day one of free agency for a minimum contract. And he wasn't signing to be a starter. He was assigned to be a high-level backup, just basically replacing the Jock Landale role from last year. And it was great. And then now the Suns have acquired the starter in front of him. And Nurkic was a great interview, by the way. I love hearing this guy talk.
Amen.
You guys got to find Bosnian Beast video on YouTube that those folks have put together. Their fans, a song, Bosnian Beast song. You got to find that. But anyway, he's great. And he's like, man, that sneaky Drew, he tried to get away from me and I came back and found him.
That's good.
He's going to be a fan favorite. And let's hear from another guy who is already a fan favorite, and that's Utah.
Come back from the practice, I always lay down my bed and don't want to do anything. So I'm always apologizing to my wife. So off the court, I have no energy. I'm lazy, but on the court, you're gonna see me. Like I said, you're gonna see me flying around, running around every night.
He's so real.
Yeah.
He's so human.
He might take over the DA role on media relations for that.
He just seems like a little kid. He's just so happy and excited, man. How can you not love him?
Yeah.
Especially when he's draining all those 3-point shots that he's going to be getting. Because I'm still open to him being the fifth starter. So just the imagining him in that Josh Okogie role, not defensively, obviously, but I mean he's bigger. But like those games where we were watching Josh shoot 3 after 3, and because he should have, he was wide open. But Utah's going to be hitting those down at a much higher clip in those opportunities.
Definitely. I did also like Nasir Little. I paid obviously a little bit more attention to his media day interviews because I didn't know much of his game, but he spoke about his bond and his friendship with Mikal Bridges, and you can see their similarities in terms of energy and in terms of engagement and just general love for the game and love for what they're lucky enough to be able to do. And I thought he was quite funny. He was quite funny as well. Definitely.
My favorite 3, I remember thinking, because I had to get up and I didn't see Utah live. So, but I had to get up at one point. Anyway, before that, my 3 favorite interviews of the day were after Yusef. Yusef was great, but Keita Bates-Diop, Josh Okogie, and Nasir Little. They were great. Just so real and gave real good answers. Josh was usually during the season, he's much more just talking about the game. So this was great to hear him talk about his background a little bit. And it was real fun to see these guys on media day. So yeah, this was definitely kids in a candy store year as opposed to the funeral home of a year ago.
Yeah, I think every single player said they were excited to play for the Suns. They all said it was an easy decision to come here in free agency. A lot of them signed within minutes. And it's going to be a great competition for that fifth starter between all those guys. But we had a flex from Jersey Bomb yesterday. He was telling us that Josh Okogie has the early lead to be the starter. He's been running with the starters in training camp so far. And, Josh has the experience. Josh talked about meeting Vogel in the elevator a few years ago when they didn't really know each other. And Vogel walked up to him and said, "Hey, Josh, I love your game. You're tough." And then walked away. So, Josh Okogie has that early lead to be the starter. But Dave, did you get any impressions of any of the other new guys, Ball, Keita Bates-Diop, any of those other guys at Media Day?
No, I mean, nothing's really stood out. All we're getting right now is interview. No one's seen anybody actually play, right, in a real competitive setting. They've done all their 5-on-5s and their scrimmages behind closed doors, so we don't know. There's just so much talk about the big three and Nurkic as the fourth that there's almost no room in the interviews to ask about who's standing out because they're all propping each other up, right? Everyone's best friend right now. So Josh Okogie, I think, would be great if he can make his threes and doesn't hesitate on taking them when he gets them when he's open. I think Bates-Diop is going to get a lot of run because he has so much length and he can take on slightly bigger players. He can rebound all right. So that's going to be really good. But I think everyone's going to get a chance. If Frank Vogel does what he says he's going to do, we're going to see a long rotation of fifth guys and probably other guys because the big three are going to miss games and Nurkic is going to miss some games. And so we're going to see a bunch of guys this year. And all Vogel has to do is by game 70, figure out who his five are, not by game 1. But yeah, if it's Josh Okogie, that's mostly by default and because he was the starter last year, and Vogel does love him. But I think everyone's going to get a chance.
Yeah, I think Vogel talked about he's going to have different lineups, and he and others talked about how he's going to adjust. Monty really didn't make a lot of adjustments. He stuck with a set rotation and everything. But let's talk a little bit about the big three. We did this a little bit out of order, but let's hear what Devin Booker had to say about the big three leading by example.
After it, we know how much talent we have, and we know it's not going to be easy at the same time. So, just hold each other accountable, keep competing at a high level, and I think it's a domino effect from everybody. Once you see KD or Brad getting after every day in practice, it just, how am I going to be the one not to? And I think everybody feels that same way.
And then KD said, we don't even have to talk about it. Here's KD talking about that stuff.
Talk about leadership because, when you got guys that work hard and be there, provide their best every single day, that just rubs off on everybody else. So it's not a conversation you got to have about appointing us as captains or leaders. It just happens by just the work ethic we put in and the love that we have for the game every single day. That'll shine brighter than us talking about anything.
So, Dave, do you think the big three are a good fit, and what do you think about them so far?
Look, everyone's worried about the lack of a true point guard on the roster. I don't think that's a problem. I think every team would cream their pants over having Bradley Beal as their third option. I mean, come on. That's part of why they're like their kids in a candy store. It's just crazy how good their third best player is. He can take over and he can get 30 on any given night. And KD and Booker and Beal can all get 5+ assists. When you've got that much, what you got to do is have an open, not point guard centric offense, and everything will be fine. We haven't even talked about Jordan Goodwin. We don't even know if he'll make the team anymore after all these acquisitions since the Beal trade, but he is a combo guard who can play better, some point guard, and he just got to figure out his shot, but he's also a great defender. So we'll see what happens. But I think Booker as the main ball handler, I asked him about that. I said, isn't it really draining to be the main ball handler the whole game because you have to bring the ball up? You guys, nobody understands, and I don't even really, but I've been told by enough people that I believe it, okay? Because I've never been a point guard in the NBA. It's grueling to bring the ball up every time against those defenders. You're having to get across the timeline, set up the offense. So there's going to be a lot of But what Booker says is, I don't never feel tired during a game. It's between games that I get tired. And I think that is going to be a lot of wear and tear on him if he's always the one bringing the ball up. But the good thing for the Suns is they have a lot of guys who can bring the ball down. And then Booker can just start in the corner and then just run up, off pin downs and get the ball to initiate the offense at that point. He'll have the ball in the offensive sets a lot, but he won't have to bring up the ball every time because the Suns have such good ball handlers throughout the team. So, but it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of grind for Booker, and we'll see how the year goes. But I think as far as offensively, these big three are great together because nobody has to be a ball pounder. They all just want to just get the best shot, and they all love to see the others succeed. Booker's proven it for 2 years straight. Chris Paul might have been a little bit of a ball dominant guy, and Booker just seamlessly fit in and still had his best years. And so this will all happen real well. It's just going to be does anybody get ground down by too much bringing the ball up, and how does that get balanced?
Well, when you talk about running and not having CP3 anymore, let's hear Bradley Beal talk about that very thing.
I've probably had more point guard responsibilities over the last year and a half, 2 years, than any other time. So I think it's not just going to be one guy. We're all going to be leading by committee. Who's ever outletting the ball, who's ever closer gets the rebound. We're all free to push and get our offense initiated. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, if we had a traditional point guard, like, he's not going to be slowing our offense down. Like, no, get the ball to Kevin, get the ball to D-Book, and let's get this thing going. So,
little low-key shade at CP3 there, I think.
Yeah. The other thing is these guys, what they were trying to get CP to do last year, and we all saw it, is they tried to get CP off the ball a lot more last year, right? You guys, that was a main push. And what they needed from him, though, was to be a catch and shoot guy. And he's like, I never done much catch and shoots in my life, but I'm trying. Well, he never did figure it out, did he? He never figured it out. That's how he sounded to me. I don't think he was from the South, but he made himself sound like it. But anyway, he never did figure it out. Even in the playoffs, he would not catch and shoot. You've got to get a fast release out there, and he can't. He didn't want to do it. He'd rather drive in and create other offense for other people, and that's just what happened. So hopefully, Bradley Beal won't be as shy on catch and shoots after giving up the ball and running around to find the open spot. Same thing with the other two guys, and I don't think we will have any hesitation from those guys.
Yeah, I think Beal can do it all. And, he's just such a nice guy, too. Bill's quickly becoming one of my favorite guys on the team. He's just
real deal Beal.
Yeah, he's just so well-spoken and gregarious.
Gregarious.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
Before we move on to the final segment and preview preseason, does anyone else have any thoughts about training camp, media day, anything else you guys have seen this week?
Dave, was there? I did catch. Was it? I think it was Nurkic, and I was just kind of wondering because if you're in the room, the kind of atmosphere, but I think was it maybe Dwayne Rankin asked, or I thought it was Dwayne maybe, but asked Yusef, what's one thing he wanted to learn about what Americans do.
Doesn't understand. And that was Doug Bronze with Doug Unplugged. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I think my guess was it was probably a little bit more like, why do you guys eat so many hamburgers or something like that?
Yeah.
But it quickly turned into like, gun control, and I was like, oh,
I don't know why you guys have so many guns over here.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, what was that? Was that, what was the
we all whispered to each other that we would have all lost the office pool if we had a pool of who made the first social statement of the day, social commentary of the day. It would not have been expected to come from him, but he's just making a comment. He puts his kids in school, and he's noticed that there's a few more school shootings here than in other countries. So and they don't even get guns anywhere else. So yeah, that was interesting.
Just
and
stop
had
sending
all of us
kids
going,
to school.
nice.
Sorted.
There you go.
We have homeschooling. What can be better than that? So that I thought that was I thought that was a poignant part. And of course, whatever side you land on that, I don't have a problem with people having guns. I have a problem with people using guns in the wrong times. That's really it. But we do open up the obviously the possibilities when we give more of them out. Like, I mean, you can get guns faster. You can get candy at a parade anymore. So it is interesting. But neither here nor there. You can have whatever position you want. Just don't kill anybody with it.
This is not a political podcast, Dave, but the governor of
100%.
Arizona, Kerry Lake, would disagree with you.
The wanted to be governor.
Oh no, I like to continue the joke that she still thinks that she is, especially
just
because
like just like somebody else is still the president.
Well, that, and also because a particular host on Suns Jam does have a big crush on her, so it's kind of hilarious.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Suns Jam
Hey,
too,
you know what? Sorry, since I'm sorry, I'll go right back to you, sir. But I want to jump. I want to say, since I'm retired now, and I don't care what people think. I do also want to say that the same people who don't believe election results, those same ballots voted in their own candidates too. It's all one ballot. There are no separate ballots for governor separate from all the judges and all that. Those are all the same ballots. So why don't we just throw out all the election results and put in the opponent in every one of them? I don't know if those sides would like that. So anyway, that was my aside. I've always wanted to say that out loud. So thank you for letting me. Sir Hamill, go ahead.
Thank you, Dave. That's a very good point, though. But I was you're referencing Suns Jam there, and I was speaking with Voida earlier on in the week, and I was thanking him and Lissy because they did a incredible job of describing the overall feeling and the vibe and the tone of this year's media day. Understanding it was the first day for Lissy and John's first experience with the media day was last year when it was the funeral, and obviously it was a terrible one. But this is from what we see on all of the clips, all the media clips from PHNX, from Bleacher Report, from everyone, and how you can feel the energy and the excitement. Was that palpable when you were there, Dave? Like, was that you could feel that it was what it came across on the screen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, people were, and again, I've been to a dozen of these media days. People were kind of bouncing in their seats. There was so much energy in that room and positive energy. It was nice. It was like they were just stripping away the last couple of years of bad. Now, does that prove out to better results on the court? We won't know until they play, but they certainly feel really good coming into this season. And the media that were there, now we didn't get, since the Suns didn't have any bad drama, we only had like one ESPN person, a Bleacher Report, not a year ago, we had a throng of national people asking all the dead questions, and this year it was mostly the locals and the beat writers and the people like us, bloggers and podcasters. There was really great energy in the whole room. It was fun.
So less national media this year compared to last year.
Yeah, on site anyway, right? They sent half a dozen from different outlets a year ago to sit in the crowd and ask the tough questions. This year we got Amin Al Hassan for a few minutes, and he's semi-national anymore. And he tried to get James Jones to tell him how long the Nurkic deal was in place, before, because there's reports out there that the Suns have had Aiden for Nurkic on the table for months. James wouldn't give him an answer. And then soon after that, he had other obligations. So that was it. We didn't really have too many of the national guys in there because the Suns don't have any train wreck stories, right? The national guys went to Philadelphia.
True. Well, that's why it's not like a funeral.
Boston.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, that's why it's not like a funeral, because the ESPN guys are not there to mess it up. But, everyone is excited, especially because Suns basketball is back tomorrow. We've got the preseason starting. We're going to play the Pistons tomorrow with Monty Williams as the new coach. Then we play the defending champion Nuggets. We play the Blazers twice with Ayton. And then we play the Lakers to round it out. But, Dave, what are you looking forward to in the preseason these next couple weeks?
I'm really looking forward to scheme, right? This is obviously the first time we've seen them not have a Monty Williams system, but they still have, and we haven't even seen his face this year really, but we still have the highest paid assistant coach in the entire league in Kevin Young, who, basically was kept around and has never worked obviously with the head coach Frank Vogel before, but Vogel is much more of a defensive guy. And Kevin Young is an offensive guy. I'm really curious how these guys make it work, what the team scheme looks like. Obviously, defense is going to have to be played differently this year. Offense should be played differently this year. There's no point guard centric roles out there now. So that's what I'm looking for is how do they look? How's the ball move? And you've got all new guys. Like I said, 13 new players, including the two ways, out of the 18 that are wearing uniforms, 19 that are wearing uniforms because you got two ways and 17 under contract. I'm just curious. They're not going to look good. They're going to look a little sloppy, but I want to see just where the ball is expected to go and how the plays line up.
I tell you what, is it just me, but I keep forgetting that we've also got Fizdale on staff.
Oh my gosh, I keep forgetting that too.
Yeah,
he pops up. You're watching some court footage from training day and training camp, whatever it's called. Sorry, and it's like, when the hell did Fizdale show up?
Oh man, we are stacked.
The coaching staff is stacked for sure. Definitely, Fizdale is a really good coach. Was a head coach in the league,
amazing coach,
and was on. He was not on Vogel's championship staff. He joined the year after, but that's when Vogel was also saddled with Russell Westbrook, and
he was still coaching the Knicks at the time. I think.
Yeah. He was with the Knicks the year that the Lakers won the championship. Hey, man, we haven't even talked about championship equity here, right? Like, we've had James Jones for years, but now coming into a season, we've got Kevin Durant who's won 2 championships himself, been in 3 finals, and we have Frank Vogel who has won a championship. So at every level, you've got people who know how to win all the way, and that is really good. So I am looking forward to next spring, but it's going to be fun watching the 82 games as we go and see how it narrows down into a real rotation. And I would not expect this team to look exactly the way it is now by playoff time, because as we've seen, they are not afraid to make moves.
I want to see us beat the Nuggets, Monty, and Ayton. I don't care. Let's beat these guys. They got the perfect matchups for preseason.
That'll be interesting. The thing about Ayton is it's so funny. You would think he would want that to be his best game, but he probably won't even show up. I mean, like, you know what I mean? It's just like he never steps up like that. But who knows? Maybe he'll talk them into giving him a valley-oop at the end.
Oh. Ouch.
No, definitely not. You can't allow that.
I'll be honest. Preseason is, for me, it might as well be the beginning of the off season. It's perhaps the slowest. The only good thing about preseason is, real basketball is just around the corner. It's not a long preseason. And anymore. And I think Eddie Johnson talked about this, is that, a lot of these guys go into training camp and there's not really a workout to it as much as there used to be. They kind of start to get their workout in, before training camp, and then obviously almost kind of when the season gets started. So I guess my point would be, I guess I'm looking forward to seeing them run and kind of get ready to play real basketball. But I think, Dave, you kind of talked about that. We are used to the Chris Paul slowly bring the ball up the court. I mean, let's be honest. It was a little bit like when we tried to attach Shaquille O'Neal to 7 seconds or less Suns. Like, Shaq had a skill set. It did not mesh well with what the rest of the team was trying to do. And CP3, a Hall of Fame point guard that could break down easily, and he preferred to bring the ball up the court a lot. Granted, we made that kind of switch a little bit last year, but this year, that's what I'm going to be looking forward to, is how many quick outlet passes when you have really anyone on the court that's going to be able to get the ball down. I mean, you're not going to have everyone just put their head down and start running to the opposite end because they're like, I can't touch the ball. Everyone should be able to touch the ball and move the ball down the court, which is going to open up so many quick passes for what should be even more open shots than these guys are used to. And of course, you put the the fact that so many of these guys are so talented together that how the defenses react is going to be fun to watch. But so I guess that kind of is a little taste of when they decide to go hard for a few minutes every preseason game. That's what I'll be looking forward to.
7 seconds or less, the remix.
That's right.
Yeah. Dave, you might have an answer for this. I honestly haven't looked into it. It might be easy to find. Have we? Who's replacing Al McCoy this year for home games?
Oh, John Bloom. So
Yeah.
John Bloom is
gonna be
now
John
the
Bloom.
full-time radio announcer, home and away. He's been the away announcer in Al's place because Al hasn't traveled the last 2 years. And John Bloom, he is I love John, lifer. He has dedicated himself. He's done the thing that all the bloggers do, and where he has just stuck around and done stuff for free for years. And of course, he's had a career. He's been paid, but he's been doing extra stuff for years. And that finally got him the gig that he's always wanted. And now we're probably going to see John eventually put in the Ring of Honor 30 years from now when he's starting to fade out. So this is perfect for opportunity for him. He's a great game caller. I love John as a person as well as a game caller, and we're going to be very excited to have him. And Tim Kempton is staying on as the partner for most of the games with Ann Myers Drysdale doing some of the games. So, and of course, the TV people haven't changed at all. So it's going to be fun.
No, that's awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to replace a legend, but John definitely deserves it. He's been working hard and couldn't be a nicer guy, and he's so fun to listen to. He has the most energy probably of anyone around the Suns.
Yeah, if you're interested, check out Fanning the Flames. One of the OG Suns podcasts actually had John Bloom on to talk on their last episode.
It's a great episode.
Listen.
They recorded again.
Yeah, they do it on occasion.
Sorry, boys. I love you.
They'll be back in 2024 around the
You should call them reunion tours.
Dan's my guy. I love Dan. Shout out, Dan.
Amen. So we're going to kind of wrap it up. Dave, do you have any final thoughts? And just tell us where we can find you.
Sure. Final thoughts. We barely talked about him, but I think Drew Eubanks is going to be a fan favorite this year. He plays hard. He works hard. He's like in the Jock Landale mold where you don't want him to be your full-time starter long-term. He's not that level of player, but he's going to fill that kind of role where we're all like, we can survive with him for a little bit. It's going to be a fun year just watching all these guys mix and match and see who plays best over the course of the year. And hopefully, I think it's a stronger bench than last year's bench. Although it's not top of the line, it's definitely a pretty good bench. So I think the Suns are in good spot, and I'm looking forward to maybe Devin Booker not missing half the season again. So that would be nice to see. There's a lot of things I'm looking forward to, and primarily around this team is going to be health. Where can people find me? I'm always still on the Twitter. I'm going to use old school because I'm an old guy. So I'm on Twitter at Dave King NBA. You see my handle in the bottom there. I am still writing for Brightside. I'm not running Brightside anymore. John Boyda has taken over that mantle just because it's a little bit of a burnout constantly bringing writers on. And so John Boyda has brought fresh life into Brightside. You guys should go check that out. Great new writers on there as well. And I contribute a few times a week too, especially a Monday morning column every week. So that's where you can find me. And I appreciate you guys having me on as a guest, and I'll look forward to an invite again soon.
Thanks so much. We appreciate it. And Jake, what about you?
Well, you talked about a flex bomb. Here is a fallen founder bomb right now. I did get it from my sources earlier today that Damian Lee is not in consideration for starting the starting fifth position on opening night due to an injury. I don't know if everyone knows that yet, but fallen founder bomb, boom. But otherwise, you can find me at Fallen Founder on the socials.
Hamo?
That information must have come from the same person that leaked the story about Ish Wainwright playing football. No, look, thank you very much, Dave, for coming on. I believe we've been on one podcast with the Aussie Suns fans before, but we weren't on at the same time. So it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you, and thank you for everything that you've done for the Phoenix Suns fans. what you've done for the media side of things, and also what you've done with Brightside, man. It's just it's a beautiful human thing that you're doing, and you deserve the appreciation for it. So thank you. You can find me at Sir Hammer on Twitter. I love being on this podcast, guys. This is an amazing opportunity, amazing experience every time we come on. Thank you for watching. Shout out to my boy C4 Cartoons on IG for the background. He's got some incredible artwork there, so check him out as well. And yeah, guys, it's just a beautiful time to be a Suns fan. It really is. We say it every year, but this is it. This is the year. We've got the talent. We've got the depth. We've got the coach. We've got the tools. We've got the know-how. So we're going to make it work. Watch this space.
It sure is, you know, and you guys mentioned Damian Lee and Ish Wainwright. They're two of the nicest guys on the team, and I'm a little scared for my boys. You know, they might not make the team, especially Ish. He's on a non-guaranteed deal. It's looking tight for him. He might be one of those two guys that gets cut. There's also Keon Johnson, and then, you know, Damian is hurt. He's going to be out for a while. So there's a possibility they could cut him. I really hope that does not happen. He deserves that championship we're about to win. But, of course, you can find me on Twitter at Sunderous Dunks. The podcast on Twitter is at Suns Planet Pod. We're Suns Planet Podcast on YouTube. Thanks so much, Dave, for coming on. You're one of the smartest and the best people on Suns Twitter. We really appreciate it. And, you know, I think it's time to win it.
Good morning, Al.
Good
night, Australia.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay with us as the Suns get set to shine here on their home court.
Here's Perry. Cigar Hurd. Here's the jump shot. Good! It's good!
Al McCoy with you courtside. Pumped up a three.
Shazam! He ties it. Hey, D.A. Al and Tim up here.
Happy birthday!
Right. Yeah.
I know it's the ball, but happy birthday, baby!
Here's Cameron Payne out on top. Durant, three-pointer straight away.
Shazam! I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone in this arena this afternoon, to all of those that are watching and listening on radio and TV. Thank you for allowing me to tell the story of the Suns for 51 great years.
That pretty much wraps things up here. And for one last time, this is Al McCoy saying thanks for being there. Thanks for being with us tonight. And from the Footprint Center here in downtown Phoenix, we'll just say so long for now.